The 2026 Formula One season has started with a bang, and not just because of the new cars. A big argument has started, and it's all about the Mercedes engine. After a stunning 1-2 finish at the Australian Grand Prix, where George Russell and Kimi Antonelli were much faster than everyone else, other teams are asking questions. The biggest question is about something called the compression ratio. Mercedes seems to have found a clever trick that gives them a lot of extra power, especially in qualifying. This has made their rivals and even their old driver Lewis Hamilton very worried. The FIA, the people who make the rules, are now involved, and it looks like this story will be a big part of the 2026 season. The problem is all about how the engine's power is measured. For 2026, the rules say the compression ratio of the engine must be 16:1. This was done to make the engines less powerful and the racing closer. However, the rules also said that this measurement would be taken when the engine is cool. Mercedes seems to have found a way to make their engine change when it gets hot. So, while it is 16:1 when it's cool, it goes up to 18:1 when it's running on the track. This gives them a lot more power. Some people like Max Verstappen think this could be worth as much as 30 horsepower, which is about 3/10 of a second per lap. In Formula One, that is a huge advantage. Lewis Hamilton, who now drives for Ferrari, was one of the first to talk about this. After qualifying in Melbourne, where the Mercedes cars were almost a second faster than everyone else, he said he was worried. "I hope it's not this compression ratio thing," he said. He explained that if Mercedes has this advantage, it could be very bad for the championship. If they have a few months of that, then the season's done, he said, pointing out that even a small advantage over 7 races can mean losing a lot of points. He said he would be disappointed in the FIA if they allowed this to happen, and that he would push his own team Ferrari to do the same thing to get more power. Other teams are also very unhappy. The teams that use Mercedes engines like McLaren, Williams, and Alpine are shocked. They get the same engine from Mercedes, but they are much slower. James Vowles, the boss of Williams, said that what Mercedes is doing with their engine caught us off guard. He thinks the difference is about 1/10 of a second, which is a lot. Andrea Stella, the boss of McLaren, agrees. He said that it took until qualifying for them to see how much faster the main Mercedes team was. He explained that it's not about the engine itself, but about how you use it. Mercedes knows how to get the most out of their engine, and they are not sharing that information with their customers. This has made the customer teams feel like they are at a big disadvantage. Because of all the complaints, the FIA has decided to act. They have said that from the Monaco Grand Prix in June, they will start testing the engines when they are hot. This will close the loophole that Mercedes has been using. This is a big deal because it means Mercedes only has a few more races to use their advantage. It also means that the championship could be split into 2 parts. The first 7 races where Mercedes is much faster, and the rest of the season where things could be much closer. This has made the next few races very important. Mercedes will want to win as many points as possible before their advantage is taken away. But the story doesn't end there. Mercedes is now trying to use another rule to stop their rivals from catching up. This rule is called the Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunities, or ADO. It is designed to help teams with slower engines to improve. If a team's engine is between 2% and 4% slower than the fastest engine, they can bring 1 upgrade during the season. If they are more than 4% slower, they can bring 2. Mercedes is now trying to manage its speed so that its rivals like Ferrari and Red Bull don't get to use this rule. They are trying to stay just fast enough to win, but not so fast that their rivals get free upgrades. This is a very clever but also very controversial move. It shows that the fight in Formula One is not just on the track but also in the rule book. This whole situation has created a lot of drama. George Russell, who won the race in Australia, joked that he was flying to the next race in China with Lewis Hamilton, and that he expected to hear a lot of complaints about his illegal engine. He said he would just tell Hamilton to shut up and focus on your own stuff. This shows that even the drivers are feeling the tension. The next few months will be very interesting. We will see if the FIA's new test will make the racing closer, and if Mercedes' clever tricks will be enough to keep them at the front. One thing is for sure, The 2026 season is already one to remember. The debate around the compression ratio is a perfect example of how Formula One teams are always looking for an edge. The rules are very complex and engineers spend thousands of hours looking for any small loophole or grey area they can use. What Mercedes has done is not technically illegal because the rules were not written to cover this specific situation. They simply found a clever way to use the rules to their advantage. This is a classic part of Formula One history. The question now is whether the FIA should have seen this coming. Some people like Lewis Hamilton feel that the FIA should have acted sooner to close this loophole. Others like the Sky Sports analyst Bernie Collins have pointed out that it's not as simple as just the engine. She said that if it was just the compression ratio, then all 4 teams with Mercedes engines would be at the top, which is not the case. This suggests that Mercedes's advantage comes from a combination of things: the engine, the car's design, and how they manage the energy from the hybrid system. This is what makes the situation so difficult for the other teams. It's not just one thing they need to copy. They need to understand the whole package. This is why the customer teams are so frustrated. They have the same engine, but they don't have the same knowledge or the same resources as the main Mercedes team. They are essentially paying for a product, but they are not getting all the instructions on how to use it properly. This has led to calls for more open information sharing between the engine manufacturers and their customers. However, in a sport as competitive as Formula One, where every team is looking for an advantage, this is unlikely to happen. Teams will always keep their best secrets to themselves. The political side of this story is also very interesting. Mercedes is not just trying to win races, they are also trying to control the championship by trying to stop their rivals from getting upgrades through the ADU rule. They are playing a very strategic game. They are using the rules to their own advantage, which is something that all the top teams do. This has created a lot of tension between the teams. The meetings of the team principals are likely to be very heated in the coming weeks. Each team will be fighting for their own interests, and the FIA will have to try and find a solution that is fair to everyone. This is not an easy task, and it is likely that whatever they decide, some teams will be unhappy. The next few races will be crucial. All eyes will be on Mercedes to see how much they can extend their lead before the new test comes into force. All eyes will also be on the other teams to see how they respond. Will they be able to close the gap, or will Mercedes continue to dominate? The answers to these questions will shape the rest of the 2026 season. It is a story that is at the very heart of what makes Formula One so compelling.